Hey, hello, good afternoon, everyone. Here's Eddie Sasquatch. It's Friday, the 20th of August, 2021 at 5:19 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I was just going to do some paperwork and I saw this whole craziness about the vehicles again where they can't get chips. I want to pose a situation to all of you, and hopefully it's going to register very quickly, or at least sooner than later, but even later would be better than not at all. Ask yourselves this: with anything that we supposedly need, if we were in a system down or war situation, would we not have solutions within 24 hours or less? Well, let's take the supposed biggest, baddest ass of them all, the little short sawed-off guy after the fact. I can't say the word, otherwise there's going to be so much negative rhetoric against me. So let's take his biggest, little baddest ass, and look at how many things were accomplished in less than 24 hours because of the supposed worst villain on the planet that supposedly killed how many different people, which of course when you add it up is physically impossible under the conditions that they state. So, but anyhow, that's a whole nother story. The point being is, if you all of a sudden triggered people with this biggest, baddest little sawed-off person, allegedly so, that you would have just stirred up the whole bee's nest, and oh my god, things would just be cranking out like crazy. So why is it so hard for all these goddamn overpaid politicians and governors and clergy and religious and other wannabes to be able to make a decision with all the money they have at their disposal? Guess it's time to retool our factories that we can produce our own products. And the number one would be is, if like in a system down, you are not going to be able to keep a divided country because your country gets infiltrated, able to produce its own electronic chips to mass produce an item, then wouldn't it be advisable that every area that considers it important to have their own vehicles be able to be qualified to produce their own vehicles and be able to have their own resources at their disposal? So then therefore, if the electronics is so difficult because these goddamn idiots making up their excuses about that it's difficult when it's not, they're just too goddamn cheap to reinstill the normal activity back within the people that they have intentionally destroyed because they're dumbing everyone down using some of the worst tactics perhaps throughout the entire history currently being deployed against us all, including get your tin hats ready, as the expression would have it since who knows how long, the cellular and all other transmitted energies. Yes, all other transmitted energies, because if you're in a zone that is too highly occupied with different energies that aren't normally what the body would have to deal with, it's going to physically impede your body's functioning for its baseline levels, and your cognition will be lowered. So where I would otherwise give that as an excuse, sorry, when it comes to these crooks, that's not acceptable. For the dumbed down people out here, yes, you have to be aware that those frequencies are hampering your body's base function, so therefore it has lowered, that's my coming back down the rungs of the ladder, has lowered your ability to be able to be cognitive. So what previously before would have dawned on you instantly now does not dawn on you instantly, because, say, for example, to move your finger in one direction maybe took 10 neuronic impulses to be able to move it in one direction, and 10 the opposite. Maybe now it takes 20, 30, who knows how many. It's a hypothetical example to say that if the energies that are being transmitted can permeate directly into your body, so-called V2K, voice-to-skull technology, transmitted, they're received in the bone, it's directly transmitted into the brain. Even if your brain doesn't demodulate those signals in such a way that it interferes with your cognitive functions, it is bringing down, aka scrambling, your body's normal signal production to be able to do the functions it otherwise did on its respective pathways in their models. I want to stress that very strongly. You always have to include in their models. I'm just checking the time. So hopefully that keeps it congealed. Some of the bigger components there, yes, there is legitimate excuses, but on the other side, no, if everyone said the biggest, baddest, which is of course when you compare their other statistics, a complete other crock of shit, not possible, then therefore if that can so stir the herd, I wouldn't call it a hive, but the herd, and a herd that is not grass grazed, then therefore, what the heck? You know, that's then perhaps the equivalent of a superstition. So whatever it takes to stir yourselves to realize that you have X level of ability still left. If you don't use it, you will, and then therefore you must recover what we just did previously, all the way up through sometime in the 70s, before they started rolling out the computers and forced you to think about how to write your first script or software for the computers, that you had to change this O to 0, and you had to learn to think in the different programming languages, which is perhaps the equivalent of going and doing a clinical study, and we have to learn how to breathe, so that their programmers who didn't set up the computer correctly to do the testing for that particular study, which was for like COP-D, you have to learn how to breathe to make the readings come out correctly to show if their drug was actually doing something. Otherwise you didn't get qualified, or you actually got disqualified for that study. That was just recently as March 2021. So it's a complete, no less than a paradigm shift, but for lack of proper definition, remembrance right now, it's such a shift as in to say that people need to be able to refocus on what is made to be, oh my God, that's so difficult. You're just going to have to, hunker down on yourself or buckle down on yourself. That block that out of your thoughts. Start doing. Don't think, don't act, just do. In terms of for some people anyhow, reestablishing your ability. And in other people, you just have to get off the ass and start establishing that ability, because it took X amount of years in their bullshit evolutionary model to get to this point. If you don't use it, you will. And that is why you have so many pathetic morons worrying about the sensibilities of someone else and all this PC, woke crap, all this stuff that they're creating that are non-issue issues, yet you can't solve an issue that should have been resolved right now, because this is a national emergency. If you cannot conduct your business and you have every day different powerful nation states that are attempting to take over you, it should not take a rocket scientist to come out and tell these idiots, yo, dude, get a factory going, get it going now, redesign the cars in such a way where the car fits the purpose of the car, where it's supposed to be a standalone functioning vehicle, not dependent upon specialized technology like they used to be. And in fact, the specialized technology has only made it to block you out, where they can put it completely electronic controlled, lock it into their Skynet, which is now in effect from, if I remember correctly, is in effect from, Chiphead, after the fact Chiphead, before somewhat beloved Elon Musk. There again, you've got factories producing chips. Why don't they do like factories used to do in the past? In a system down or war in emergency, all factories were designated to produce the required products. And that would bring tons and tons and tons of jobs back home, and it would force the people to have to be with a proper cognizance and functionality immediately in terms of having the electronic availability and ability, plus then forcing again to have the insights, what of this shit that is alleged do we really need? The sheer fact of the matter is, probably just throwing out a ballpark figure, 50% of what is out here we absolutely do not need. It was purely created in haste for some joker to make money, yet when you look behind the scenes from a warring mentality, you can clearly see it's like, oh my God, what a scam. Up front it looks like this, but directly behind that it was just another way, like the Roman warring effort, to be able to destroy the ecology of the people, extrovert them, and have them supplanted with a false consciousness, false spirit, false set of sensations and conscientiousness that makes them externalized and not even know it, and externalized in such a way where you're giving up your physical goods to take on fake everything. And if you can't see that, then you need to take time to see that and realize that everything about you is controlled right now. And it's completely different mindset than what was here before. You don't need to place all the different titles on who it could potentially be from, but the sheer fact of the matter is, it is not healthy. There is so much here right now that isn't healthy and has to be changed back. That's all, you know, I can go and make an outline in another video. I just got so peeved seeing this shit about the cars yet. I need to get in a vehicle. I'm pressured on one side. To be a poor boy, you don't comprehend how much you have to know and how much money it costs to be poor. I know that sounds ironic, but I want you to pay attention to that. It is not easy to be poor. And that's a made poor. I should have been much, much wealthier, but they have the technology to steal directly out of your thoughts, both from electronically and spirit warfare, close in with psychic warfare. You must start becoming aware of these things. Some of it you will be able to view directly under the patents to do with psychotronic warfare, the least of which previously I didn't know was under psychotronic warfare, is the subliminal advertising, which has been around since the 60s in that form of it. And it has been since altered into other forms as well. So thank you so much for your time. This is regarding the electronics. If you design a car that does not require electronics like all vehicles used to be, they used to even have hand crank motors, and all the horror stories they tell you now about why they had to switch it to all this complicated garbage is a complete lie. It's another fabrication. Plus, cars already by 1936 to 1938, a fully loaded Ford got 200 miles to gallon. Tested on a Ford in Winnipeg, Canada. And, you know, contrary to the notion that, oh my God, it's going to crash the market. It would crash the other market. Now, if the gasoline producers weren't so goddamn cheap and weren't so in a hurry to destroy the planet and turn us into some creature that all of us aren't, apparently some of these people can breathe this air, but they also don't have the same cognizance and they can't make proper decisions about what is needed for having a healthy planet. On the other side of it, you know, when you're blocking out the light, and of course at the same time as in the sunlight, you're also changing the frequencies that come through, you're also catastrophically and perhaps irreparably altering the biosphere, as they want to call it, or to go living on an otherwise dynamic planet but non-organic planet, then, so to speak, which does not meet for, seemingly anyhow, for Homo sapien, human, Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon, and all that other fabricated terminology to create eras that didn't necessarily exist and still don't necessarily exist. So yes, we have great adaptability, but it's clear both physiologically through the electronic transmissions, the diet, the lack of a proper diet, the water, the air, that we have been physically altered in such a way that it's dumbing us down, and also by changing the consciousnesses and rewriting the purpose, where everyone today is only to go to school and be a good job slave. That might be fine for China and everywhere else that they're doing that, and even, you know, thank God for those people over there that realize that that's not our purpose in life. But it's also not fine for having a properly prepared people to be able to do for themselves, by themselves, within natural order, using natural order real life skills, which is what our ancestry across the entire planet in your respective creatures is what they fought for. They didn't fight for this garbage that's here now, and these ridiculous politicians and CEOs that can't get beyond their paranoia that, oh my God, we're going to lose control, they're going to kill us all. You know, if the technology is there that they claim to be there, then they can simply run away. But they can then leave the planet intact and start reinstilling, and in other cases, fostering the mindset, no less, that will hopefully then become mentality, as in one who actually owns and manipulates it themselves freely of their free will, to the extent that that may or may not exist. There should be no reason for them to have any of that kind of fear. Thankful for the people like myself and others who, and few nations that set about preparing, because it's not about preparing just for cataclysm. The cataclysm that you should all be preparing for is the fact that the human consciousness has been altered and you're being blocked from proper access to previous consciousness of our ancestors, forebears, natives and indigenous, who lived for the sake of life itself, and which is highly qualified. It is not primitive necessarily, and it is highly skilled, and it is dynamic, so it does not allow for you necessarily to be boring, but it does, on the flip side, allow you for having an immediate reward system That's not just an altruistic reward system, but can also be altruistic, say, for example, the sense of accomplishment that perhaps some people would limit to altruistic form of a reward system. But since it has physical sensation to it, I don't 100% agree with that. So, all right, that's already over. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. On the one side, sorry that it's over. And I just want to do it, make a quick summation now. I'm trying to do it impromptu and get myself up to a level of ability. Like I said, I just got peeved, so it's kind of in a rant format. And it's regarding the fact that in over a year's time, if you can't figure out that you need to produce your own products that you consider essential for your screwed up society, and more appropriately calling it a social order, with a set of mindsets, then they need to be removed. That's under a mindset in a social order. I mean, this should be considered a national security. Anything that affects your functionality should be considered a national security. We should already been in a warring, potentially even martial law situation. And these idiot politicians and CEOs and media just can't get it in through their thick skulls that, okay, hey, come on, it's time to get off the ass and crank it up a little bit in the context of we need to change the way we're doing things. And it shouldn't take a feasibility study and all that other Mickey Mouse bullshit. So thank you so much. Happy day for you all, and thank you for your viewing, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated. Desperately need them. Money, land, power, and health. Making some changes as quickly as possible, but I can only make so many changes in 2 months' time. It takes hordes and hordes of time to search through the different crap that's available, since you can't get the books anymore, and of course then being able to figure out which is potentially usable data to be able to have different methodologies, ways and means, techniques to be able to try to make changes in the health. Immediately I'm asking for people's help to get back to the land, and an email and vehicle. I'm like mortifiedly terrified of going back up to the storage shed. The cops and the other shizers up there on one side messing with me, and before them just realizing that car was indeed infected. Whether they did something to infect it in addition to the mouse shite, I don't know. I just took it as to do with the mouse shite. I can't rule that out. But certainly being stuck in the rental vans and the crap that they had sprayed in them made me bloody, and I mean literally bloody raw out of the lungs already last August. So certainly room for improvement. I don't think anyone can argue against me with that comment. So thank you so much. Wish you a great day. Let me sign off here. I'm not sure how this is going to upload. Here we go. 5:37 p.m. on this Friday, the 20th of August, 2021. Eddie Sasquatch, Edward John Jeske. Wish you a great day. And again, thank you all for your support. Anyone who's got the land contacts, the vehicle contacts, desperately need it. 4esasquatch@gmail.com. 4 like the numeral 4, E like Edward. Sasquatch like the Bigfoot phonetically spelled. S as in Sam, A as in Apple, S as in Sam, Q as in Queen, U as in Universe, A as in Apple, T as in Tom, C as in Charlie, H as in House, or Heinrich @gmail.com. Thank you so much and have a great day. Ciao, ciao.